What is conservatism? Conservatism is a political ideology that emphasizes the value of traditional practices and institutions. It is a preference for the historically inherited rather than the abstract and ideal. Conservatives view society not merely as a collection of individuals, but rather as a living organism of interdependent members that has evolved over time. As such, they favor institutions such as family and religion that have evolved gradually and are manifestations of continuity and stability, while they consider any rapid or radical change to society as disruptive and harmful. For them then, the government's responsibility is to be the servant, not the master, of existing ways of life. Conservatism began to develop as a distinct political movement during the 18th century, in reaction to the French Revolution. The first established use of the term conservatism in a political context was by the French diplomat François-René de Chateaubriand in 1818, during the period of the Bourbon Restoration, a period that sought to re-establish social order after the French Revolution. However, the originator of modern, articulated conservatism, though he himself never used the term, is generally acknowledged to be the British statesman Edmund Burke, whose book, Reflections on the Revolution in France, became a major inspiration for conservatives. One key feature of conservatism is its emphasis on individual liberty and personal responsibility. Conservatives believe that all human beings are created equal and thus have the same natural and inalienable freedoms. They also highlight that, along with this freedom, individuals are responsible for themselves, for the consequences of their choices, and for society as a whole. For them, one of the main purposes of government, then, is to secure such freedoms by supporting policies that promote and expand individual rights. Another key feature of conservatism is its preference for a free market and a limited government. Conservatives argue that the best way to promote economic growth is, first, to limit the government's intervention in the economy, and second, to establish a free market, that is, one in which prices are determined by unrestricted competition between businesses. They believe that people are better qualified than the government to make decisions about their own finances and that business competition leads to economic innovation and thus growth. Moreover, they are convinced that a government that is limited in size and scope is more efficient and less corrupt. Still, another key feature of conservatism is its emphasis on law and order. Conservatives assume that human beings are mainly driven by their emotions and irrational desires, and thus are prone to selfishness, violence, and anarchy. As such, they look to traditional political and cultural institutions to curb such destructive instincts. Families, schools, and churches must teach individuals the value of self-discipline, while those who fail to learn it must have discipline imposed upon them by the law. Conservatives are convinced that without such institutions, there can be no ethical behavior and responsible use of liberty. Resists progress and perpetuates inequality. Critics argue that conservatism's preference for established institutions over necessary reforms leads to the perpetuation of existing social inequalities. By valuing the status quo, conservatism also reinforces current systems that disadvantage marginalized groups and stifles innovation in governance and policy. Favors the wealthy and neglects public welfare. Other critics, on the other hand, point out that conservative economic policies disproportionately benefit the wealthy at the expense of the lower classes. Policies such as lower taxes for high-income earners, deregulation, and reduced social spending only exacerbate income inequality, while reliance on a free market can lead to market failures, exploitation, and a neglect of essential public goods such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Please help us continue to make free and reliable videos like this one by donating or buying a printable version of the video's text or its PowerPoint presentation. Links are in the description below. Thank you, and see you in our next videos.